Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of 1 Million Cups. My name is Logan O'Sullivan, and I will be your host for today. Just a quick overview of today's session. I will briefly cover the history of 1 Million Cups before we get into today's actual presentation, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A, and then I'll wrap it up. Sounds good? All righty. So 1 Million Cups was presented by the Ewing Merriam Kauffman Foundation. And the Kauffman Foundation works with communities in entrepreneurship and education to increase opportunities that allow all people to learn, take risks, and own their success. So what is 1 Million Cups, you might ask? 1 Million Cups is a free weekly program that educates, engages, and connects local entrepreneurs. The mission of 1 Million Cups is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States. As you can see, 1 Million Cups was established in 2012 in Kansas City and has grown by over more than 800 volunteers in 40 plus states to the 200 plus communities we see today. In each community, there's 1 to 2 presentations a week. Today, we will have 1 presentation. The presenter will have around 6 minutes to present, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. And this happens every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on Zoom. If you would like to join our community, please follow our chapter on the 1 Million Cups platform at 1millioncups.com/Chico. Without further ado, Mike, whenever you're ready, we would love to hear you present your business, Forward Forestry.
Thanks very much. All righty, let me get my screen share. Everyone see that all right?
Yes, perfect.
Beautiful. Cool. Well, I'm Mike Preminger. I'm the CEO of Forward Forestry, and our product that we're building is called Mill Market, and it is a marketplace for logs. So what exactly is a marketplace for logs? Well, logs are the raw materials that are used to make the forest products we use every day, whether that's housing or furniture or toilet paper. And loggers are these folks, these small businesses usually that produce those logs. And they sell the logs to log buyers at mills. And the mills are the place that actually produce those forest products or the boards we need to make them. And so the problem with this system here is that the way loggers sell their logs to log buyers is really old-fashioned. It's really complicated, it's really time-consuming, and it's really based on who you know and your relationship with the mill as a logger. It's not based on market data. And as a result of that, loggers often don't match with the mill that would pay them the best price for their logs. Our solution to this problem is to take the whole process and put it into a single, simple marketplace where we match loggers with the mill that'll pay them the best price. So when we started this off, we talked to hundreds of industry professionals to really understand the market need and verify that this is a problem. And we had some great quotes, talking from loggers, talking about how risky it can be to get into the log buy, to sell logs and the unpredictability of it. And from log buyers, my favorite quote was to a log buyer. He said he didn't have time to talk to us because he was too busy trying to find logs to keep his mill going. So I said, no, you really have time to talk to us, trust me. All right, so here's the value we provide. So for log buyers who need to find more logs and loggers who need to sell their logs for the highest price, Mill Market quickly matches each load of logs to the mill that needs it most, helping log buyers procure up to 12% more logs and increasing logger revenues by up to 15% per load. So just a quick aside here, logs are sold by the 1,000 board feet, or MBF, and that right there, that circled pile of logs on the screen is about 1,000 board feet. And I'm telling you this just to get a sense of scope and size here. There's about 50 million MBF, 1,000 board feet, sold in the US log market annually. And if all of that went through our marketplace, if all those logs, we charge a $20 per MBF fee. That's how our product is currently priced. So at that price point, we'd be doing $1 billion in ARR if all the logs went through the platform. Now we're really focused on the Eastern US, independent loggers in the Eastern US, that's east of the Rockies. And they represent an opportunity of about $300 million in ARR. And by year 5, we're looking to get to $48 million in ARR. So our platform, it's a simple platform business model. Loggers bring their logs to sell and we match them to the mills who will pay them the best price. And for doing that matching, we charge a $10 per MBF fee from each side of the equation, giving us that $20 per MBF total. And here's kind of what the product looks like. A logger logs onto the site. They put in a bit of information about the species they're looking to sell and where the logs are located. And we present them with a list of all the different markets they could sell their logs to in a way that's easy for them to compare the different markets. That's what these tables here are, in case you're wondering, these tables of numbers. Every mill has a different way it decides how to grade logs, what a log is worth. And so the fact that every mill has a different system is part of the reason it's so hard for loggers to shop their logs around. We take the information from the mill and we created kind of a universal language to compare mills as apples to apples. And that's what these tables are here. So there are other log selling platforms out there, but they're really focused on the log export market, which is only about 10% of the logs that are sold in the US. And the reality is that close to 100% of all log transactions are really still done the old-fashioned analog way. And we want to focus on this domestic market and help loggers sell logs the way they're used to doing, which is through mixed product sales. And we're hoping that our buyer and seller matching feature is what's really going to allow us to gain market share from the old way of doing things. That's what we're competing against. So to get into this market, we're doing a couple different things. One is trade shows and conferences, like the Northeastern Loggers Association. We attended their trade show last year, just to raise brand awareness. But the real key way we acquire customers is through direct sales. That's face-to-face or over the phone meetings. Really, face-to-face is the key. We want to have 450 meetings throughout 2022. We've already done 63. With the goal of bringing 75 log buyers on board to our platform at the end of the year and having 75 different loggers have sold logs through us. We have sold logs for 2 different loggers right now, and we've got about 30 mills participating in our alpha. So we're making our way to that goal. We've also accumulated a mailing list of loggers and log buyers. Folks tend to want to be on our mailing list. When we do cold outreach and we talk to people, they're interested, they want to learn more. So that's been really encouraging. A bit about us. So like I said, I'm Mike Preminger. I'm a forester. I used to manage forests for a living. I'm also an arborist, and I have an MS in forest biology. Ryan and Yuval are our technical guys. They're building the platform. Yuval is the software development lead. He had 4 years of experience working for the Israeli Intelligence Corps, which is really cool. And Ryan, he's got a bachelor's in computer engineering. He's also our sales lead. He spends a lot of time on the road talking to loggers and mills. Right now, we're looking to raise from investors $250,000 in pre-seed funding. That's going to give us runway through 2022, allow us to launch our fully baked product and go after those first loggers and log buyers. And target our first $250,000 in revenue. So to sum this up, really, we're the first product out there that's really meant to transform the way loggers do business. We've got the industry knowledge and technical capabilities to build this thing. We've already got 10% of the mills in our test market on board of New England. So that's really exciting. And we're looking to raise $250,000 for runway through 2022. And if you know any investors who have a kind of a background in marketplaces that you'd be willing to introduce us to, we'd really appreciate it. Please send them our way. And that's what I got. Thanks so much. You should follow us on social media, Twitter and TikTok, and feel free to reach out anytime. Always happy to chat. Thanks so much.
Fantastic. Let's give him a round of applause. Well, thank you very much, Mike. I loved your presentation. Now we'll open up the Q&A portion of our today's session. So if anyone has a question in the audience, you can go ahead and speak it out loudly, or I can ask it for you. But first of all, Mike, what got you into logging?
Yeah, well, like I said, I was a forester before I did this, so I worked with a lot of loggers. And they're my favorite people. I've almost never met a logger I didn't like. It's really a certain type of person that likes to spend their days in the woods chopping trees. But the way we got into this problem specifically was through that customer discovery process, really, because we started off talking to foresters mostly with a pretty different product idea. And just the process of talking to people in the industry and hearing what folks had to say tells you what you think you know and you're wrong about. It teaches you new things and teaches you new problems. And this was the problem we ended up focusing on, just as purely as a result of listening to customers, really.
We have a quick question in the chat. Will you market fire burn timber?
This is a great question. I really like this question. I wish is the answer. So currently we don't have business in California, and California is not that California is the only place with fires, but we don't have business in California, and that's because there's not really a healthy forest products industry here in terms of competition. There's really, based on where you are, there's usually only one mill you can sell to. So there's not really an opportunity for a marketplace. In terms of fire burn timber, most of the fire burn timber in the state is not getting cut. It can't get cut. We don't have the logging capacity or the sawmill capacity. So most of that's just standing there. The stuff that is getting cut, some of it's going to mills, some of it's being chipped because there's no mill to take it. So it's really unfortunate that is a situation here in California. But currently we're not, because of that, we're not in the business of marketing fire burn timber.
Have you thought about farmers and utilizing those logs, or just veneer logs from sawmills and loggers?
Totally, absolutely. We work with, there's quite a few loggers on our mailing list who are farmers, and also we work with some tree service guys. That actually our first sale we did was with a tree service guy, and even some land clearing companies that, you know, historically they don't do anything with their logs, but they're like, oh, well, I can make money off of these instead of just sending them to a dump. It's like, yeah, you can, man. So absolutely, there are many people who produce logs besides just kind of a traditional logger.
Fantastic. Do we have any other questions from the audience here? I think we have one in the chat.
I have a question.
Can
you hear me, you think?
Can you hear the audience?
I can.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Bill Smith. I operate as a professional forester here in California.
Oh, no kidding.
I went to school at Michigan Tech, and so I'm familiar with the eastern hardwood situation. As I recall, most of the mills had their own log buyers in the east. So do you deal with those? Do they want to go through you, or do they want to stay with their current situation?
Awesome. The odds of another forester being in this room, I don't know what they are, but they're low. Yeah. So all the mills, that's right, they have their own log buyers, and those are the people we work with typically. We also work with the owners sometimes, but yeah, they're happy to go through us. I mean, the value proposition we have to them is like, look, all we're asking you to do is give us information on the logs you want and how you evaluate a log and grade it and price it. And we'll call you if we have logs for you. I mean, it's like, why, you know, if your job is to procure logs, why wouldn't you want basically another set of legs out there looking for logs for you? So they're happy to work with us. Typically we've very good responses from the mills, from the log buyers at the mills to this process. Did I answer your question? I'm not sure I did.
Yeah, I think so. I was just curious. Yeah. So yeah, as you know, it's a completely different situation here in California, and I don't know, but yeah, there's only one or two local mills, and since they've been flooded with their own logs off their industrial lands, they've pretty much quit buying logs from private property. And we've been selling a lot of logs to China.
Well, that's good that export market exists, you know, because I mean, obviously the Forest Service can't do that. So they're like really struggling, as I'm sure you know, but yeah, but I'm glad the export market's picked up. I've been out of the game for like a year. So now it's good to hear that folks have figured something out.
How are you going about marketing your marketplace? A question in the chat was you're on LinkedIn and Twitter and TikTok, but why not Instagram and Facebook?
Sure. I think there's two questions there in terms of how are we marketing. Marketing it's all cold. It's like cold contacts. We find lists of loggers and mills online or in other places through different societies, associations. We used FOIA to get a list of loggers who had filed intent to cut permits in the state of New Hampshire. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, we get lists of folks and we call them, and that's actually works quite well. About half of them pick up the phone with enough persistence, and more than half of those tend to want to get on our mailing list or otherwise work with us. So the strategy works. It's kind of brute force. In terms of social media, we are on Facebook. We are not very active on Facebook, which is something that we need to change for sure, because there are a surprising amount of loggers on Facebook. But mostly we've been focused on Twitter and TikTok. So I guess to break it down, on Twitter, the main reason for that, there are a lot of investors who are very active on Twitter. That's a big community there, which is a really awesome community. Everyone's sort of like, you know, promoting and trying to build their own thing and sharing that with the world, and it's really cool to be a part of. There's lots of opportunities to do pitch practice, you know, using Twitter Spaces. It's a really good place to be if you're an entrepreneur. So that's why we're on Twitter. In terms of TikTok, there are a lot of loggers on TikTok because they like to film themselves cutting down large trees, which is awesome. It is fun to watch those videos. So that's why we're on TikTok, and TikTok's been really fun. We make mostly infotainment, like just videos about different things in forest products, how to identify trees, stuff like that. People seem to like that content. I enjoy making it, so it's good to promote the business that way. So.
Fantastic. I think we have a question from the audience. They'll come up here. You can hear you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Eva, and thank you so much for presenting this morning. We really appreciate it. This is the kind of information we love to get out to the public. With that said, I thought I would ask, how did you hear about 1 million cups?
How did I hear about 1 million cups originally? Was talking to one of our advisors who is with the New Hampshire Small Business Development Center. And she, I think, just mentioned it offhandedly. And I was like, I wonder what that is. So I Googled it. So that's how I heard about it. Not a crazy story, but.
Yeah, how many 1MCs has he done so far?
And so you have been at Sacramento 1 million cups, and this is your second
That's right.
Chico chapter?
Yeah.
Excellent. You sound like a pro.
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to touching base with you after this presentation.
Absolutely.
That was our chapter lead speaking.
I have another question.
Uh-huh.
Have you entered the pulp market?
No, we'd like to, but not currently. Again, the pulp market is one of those where it's like there's less competition between different buyers. There's a much smaller number of buyers in the pulp market. That's not actually as true in New Hampshire as it is in most states. So, excuse me. So the fact that we're starting in New England means that we will have an opportunity to do the pulp market. It's just, we're trying not to boil the ocean. We're trying to really focus on one thing and, you know, get really good at that and then kind of extend our tendrils into more and more adjacent markets.
Yeah, the reason I asked, I was recently in northern Florida, and there's 2 paper mills in the same town. And the local pulp growers, they're about on a 15-year rotation. And they seem to have the option of one or the other. And I was wondering, they must be doing the same process you're doing individually. That's why I was curious.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, and maybe I'm not, but loggers do this. They do what we're doing for them on their own. It takes a lot more time because you got to talk to all these different mills. And it's hard to, like I said during the presentation, it's really hard to compare two mills sometimes because everybody has a different way that they evaluate and price logs. So it's hard to compare to similar systems and know which one's actually going to net you more money. And typically, we work with about 30 mills that all buy from the same area. The loggers don't call 30 mills. And I mean, maybe for a given product, there's only a dozen buyers or, 15 buyers, whatever. But again, they're not calling 15 mills. They're usually calling 2 or 3. And sometimes that works out. But a lot of times they're leaving money on the table. I mean, we publish every couple months a market price report. It's on our website, forward-forestry.com. You can check that out. And you can see the wide spread of prices that are out there. I mean, in some instances, loggers that are selling to one mill are making literally half the amount they could be making selling to a different mill that's a little further away or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. They are doing this process on their own because they have to. I mean, it's their business. They have to sell logs. That's their product. But this just streamlines it and widens their search quite a lot.
I just had a quick question. Do you deal with any of the transportation of these logs, or do you just connect them together?
We're trying not to,
Okay.
because it's just a whole nother ball game.
Mhm.
But we will have to in some capacity eventually, probably, just because trucking logs is really expensive. It's really complicated. You need a specific type. I mean, there are many types of trucks, but your truck needs to be capable of carrying logs. It needs to have, I think they're called bunks, these sidebars that hold the logs in place. And so you have to be sort of it's basically a specialty service. And log truckers have no online presence at all. If you Google log trucker near me, you probably won't find one. So it's definitely another part of this industry that's sort of a mess. So I'm saying we're trying not to mess with it right now because it's such a mess, but eventually it's an opportunity, right? Once we have, a bunch of deal flow, a bunch of loggers selling logs on our platform constantly all the time, it's very easy to just call, bring a trucker and say, hey, log on to our website and you'll see a bunch of business opportunities for yourself. Just, click this and congratulations, you got a trucking job. So that's where we'd like to take this eventually. But again, it's like, we can't boil the ocean. So we're trying to start with like one simple thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, we have another question from the audience.
Hi, I missed the part where you were looking for investors, but I think you might have mentioned how much you're looking for. Can you tell us also what kind of vehicle? Are you looking for, like a bridge? Are you looking for SPV? Are you looking for pre-seed? Can you, and at 1MC, we're not necessarily promoting anyone looking for investment, but it's always good to understand where you're at.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
So currently we are looking to raise $250,000 in pre-seed funding. And in terms of vehicle, we're looking to use a safe. We're not married to that idea. If investors want to use other vehicles, we're happy to consider it, but we're looking to use a safe. It's the simplest option. There's little to no legal overhead. So that's what we're looking at doing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a question, Jamal? Go for it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming today. We really enjoyed your presentation. We just want to ask you one final question. What can we do here at 1 Million Cups Chico? What can we do for you?
Sure. Really what it is it's what's on the screen. We're looking to meet investors who've got a background in marketplaces, an interest in marketplaces, because it's a big focus right now for us is raising that first round. Going to give us the runway we need to launch this product, this fully baked product. And so that's if you know folks like that and you'd be willing to introduce us, that's the biggest thing that's the biggest help. So
Thank you. One more quick question. Let's see. So is there a capacity or certain limit that a sawmill would have to be able to be on your marketplace? Or if someone that had, say, 100 logs and wanted to be on your marketplace, how would you go about that?
So you're talking about in terms of buying capacity to buy logs or capacity to sell logs?
To sell. So say if I had some lumber that I wanted to sell, would I need to be a full-blown sawmill to be able to be on your marketplace, or is there room for the little guys as well?
So it's typically the loggers who are the ones selling the logs. But to answer your question, there's no capacity. There's no like, you got to be X big producer. No, I mean, you can sell one load of logs on our platform, and
Gotcha.
that's it. I mean, if you have less than a load of logs, it gets a bit hairy. Most sawmills aren't. I mean, if you can transport it to a mill, usually they'll take it. But a lot of times folks who just have one or two logs that are lying around, they don't have the ability to truck them either. So
Exactly.
that can be tricky. But yeah, if you have a load of logs, you're welcome to use Mill Market. So.
Do we have any more questions from the audience? No? Nope. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. If I could just have you stop sharing.
Yep.
Thank you. All righty, can we all see my screen here? I would like to thank the chapter lead, Eva Shepard, for being here with me today, as well as our new team members, Chanel Hamilton and Edward Perez, as well as our community sponsors, Morgan Stanley, Chico Start, Grow Tech, Global Entrepreneurship Network, T-Bar, Build.com, Startup Grind, Explore Butte County, and last but not least, Stobel Coffee. Again, we meet every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on Zoom. Next week will be Brain Scology. You don't want to miss that. And in the meantime, if you'd like to sign up for our Chico Start newsletter, you can scan the QR code below. Thank you very much, Mike, again for presenting today. And I hope you have a great day.